Hello everybody, welcome back to the Fruit and Driving Experience. I am Mac and we are on race 4, finished, done. It's in the books and we got us a second. Yes! We are back up top where we need to be. We are back where we are supposed to be running. It was a bit of a barn buster, definitely something I had to work a little bit for. And let's go ahead and talk about it. I do want to say a huge shout out to KCKA for basically giving me a set of tires at the end of the race. They are super happy with these videos that I'm making, and I wanted to just say thank you for allowing me to do this, and thank you for the recognition and helping me out, because this was our last race to use tires. I would have had to get tires regardless. They're happy with the content that's being made, and they said basically thank you, and for thank you, here's a set of tires. Keep doing what you're doing. So I hope to keep you guys entertained. I hope to keep this going. But again, huge thank you to KCKA for doing that. You didn't have to. I don't do this for recognition or sponsorship, of course. I just do this because it's fun. It's what I want to do. It's what I like to do. I'm passionate about it, and I want to showcase different venues of different races, of different styles, and hopefully maybe you guys can learn something. So let's dive into this one. During the practices the day before, I was a little bit concerned because looking at my times and talking to some of the racers about what the times needed to be, I wasn't exactly where I was supposed to be. But come race day, practice, warming up, talking to other racers, we were all talking about our times, and I basically was in the understanding that I was kind of in the same spot everybody else was. So, you know, you just kind of gotta take your battles as they come. You know, if somebody would have been faster, you'd have been pushing harder. But it seemed like I was right where I needed to be as far as the rest of everybody else being fast. So as we headed out for qualifying, this always happens no matter what. And the thing is that when you're turning laps, you're looking down and you're like, all right, that's where my times are. All right, that's where my times are. And then like on some weird thing happens, and we all call it our God lap. But we look down and we're coming around the corner, we're like, oh, where did that come from? Like, you could be 3/10 faster than what the rest of your times show. And it just, I don't know how it happens, but I came off the track and I looked at Jay and I was like, yeah, we got a 31.3. And the thing is, talking to some of the racers, like, you need to be down in the 31 flats. And I couldn't get there at all to save my life. I was running normal 31.6s, 31.7s, which is not good if you're trying to get to a 31. So the fact that I came in with a 31.3, I think it was, I was absolutely ecstatic about. And I'm not gonna lie, after talking to all the competitors before qualifying, I was feeling pretty confident with it, as I may be pole position on this one, because as you know, the last couple races, we've just been starting in P2 the whole time, and we just can't get to P1. So I'm all excited. We pull up to the pre-final, and I just kind of work my way to the front, just hoping maybe that we got a P1. And so they started calling everything out, and the first one that comes up is not me for P1. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. So I was like, all right, well, maybe I'm P3. Nope, guess what? We are P2 again, starting in the pre-final, which, oh my gosh, I cannot get out of this thing to save my life. Like I said in the previous videos, I'm going to tell you what the course layout was. So this is counterclockwise full track. So this is the exact same track we ran from the last race, is just the longer extended version of it. So as you know, I said in the last video, I don't like being P2 coming out of that nasty corner to get to the acceleration zone, and it bit me in the butt again, because P2, it just can't get out of it. So we're gonna start by talking about the pre-final. I wish I had video of it. I may actually start taking video of the pre-finals, because it was actually a really good race, and it was back and forth battling, and I was able to finish in third. You know, starting right out of the gate, P1 and P3, when they took off, I had no chance. I had to just slide down into third. I got past, and then a little bit through the race, I was able to take advantage of a mistake that the racer in front of me had made, and was able to pull out a 3. So we're starting P3 in the final, right? No. Okay, so final comes up, And a little bit of a backstory is that Jaylee and I were watching the races, and there was this guy that was racing shifter, and I was like, dude, he is just sending it. Like, that is awesome. Like, he ain't afraid. And I was like, that's my kind of dude right there. That's the kind of race. Like, I want to be like that. And we're pulling up to the final, and it took me a while to figure out what was going on. But the cart that pulled up in the final, I looked down at the cart, and I look at the dude. I look down at the cart, and I'm like, well, and then I look at the dude, and I was like, well, that's the guy that was in the shifter races, the one that was really good. And I was like, well, what's his shifter cart doing here? And I looked down, and no, that cart has a 206 on it. And I look back up at him, and I look over at Jaylee, and Jaylee looks at me, and we're just like, ah, crap. Like, we knew that he was a really good racer, and it was going to be a struggle to even try to keep up with him at that point. So before the race started, he decided that he was going to start at the back of the pack. And there's a lot of reasons why some people can do that, and I'm not going to go into them all, but basically the way I understand it, everything is going on, it's understandable as to why he did it for many reasons. And if he did it for one of those reasons, you know, hats off, very respectable, thank you for doing that. But what that did is that stuck me from third being inside lane, and because he goes to the back, it bumps everybody up one position. So now we're second again in the start. So I start P2 again. No matter, it's frustrating. I can't even get a third place finish without starting P2 in the final. Like, come on, man. The race starts and we got a good jump. One takes off, and I looked over my shoulder and I was able to duck down in real quick, and I pulled off that second spot. And in the first lap, I was able to squeak out into first place. And the reason is because the person in front of me, he took a really short apex on a critical turn, and it did not set him up very well for the next turn. Threw him into the grass, but he continued on. And so we got P1. And so we're driving along, and all of a sudden, this cart just goes flying by me. And what do you know? It's the guy that started in the back. It's the racer that started in the back. And it's just hats off to the guy. Great racer. But this is something that I wanted to bring up to you guys that is very, very important. So whether you are a beginner, amateur, or expert driver, there is always time to be made up. And there is always critiques you can make to make yourself better. And this doesn't happen very often, and it's a rare occasion, but if you ever get the chance to ghost race somebody that is better than you, that is faster than you, you have to take advantage of it. Now, what I mean by ghost racing is, if you've ever played video games before, racing simulators, there's a ghost mode where basically the game sets up a simulation of your best car or whatever you're racing, and you continue to try to beat that ghost. You try to beat your time every single time, and then if you do, then that new record that you set is now your ghost, and you're continually trying to beat that ghost. Well, the same thing can happen in actual racing, and it did. The guy that was in front of me pushed into first, and I knew that he was faster, and I knew that he was going to have better lines than this. So I went from race mode to chase mode just for a split second, and then I realized the opportunity that I had in front of me, and I went from chase mode to ghost mode. And so what that is you have to pay attention to the person that's in front of you, because they are going to have better lines. I mean, obviously they're faster than you are, they're better than you are. He just ran the whole field on us. So I took that opportunity of following him and paying very close attention to some of the changes and maneuvers that he was making to better myself. And it is very important that you do this, because as you watch the video, I went back and looked at the footage, and I looked at my micron times. And what do you know? My fastest micron times were during the laps I was following him and critiquing him. And you'll see on the videos, because I start to slowly pull away from the pack. And it's because I'm paying attention to the guy in front of me who's doing better for obvious reasons, and figuring out where I'm doing something wrong. I'm bettering myself by ghost racing him, by trying to mimic him. And that is a very important thing. If you ever get the opportunity and the chance to do that, you gotta take advantage of it. Another thing too, as a beginner, you might not be looking for is engine sounds. So if the person in front of you is close, like you're on their bumper, pay close attention to their motor. You can tell when they are off the throttle and back on the throttle. And I noticed in a couple spots where he was off the throttle earlier than I was, meaning that I potentially was probably throwing myself into a corner deeper, having a worse apex. And so the next time around, I would let off just a little bit earlier where I thought he was letting off earlier, or he'd hear him letting off earlier. And what do you know? Cart was smoother through the turns, everything was better. So take advantage of a ghost race if you ever get the opportunity to. It will help you out so much. And I don't care if you are a beginner driver to a national driver, you need to remember something. There will always be somebody faster than you. Nobody likes to hear that, but it's just how it is. And either way, had an amazing race. We did so good. And your video you're gonna watch is gonna be mainly the rear camera. And the reason is because there's not much going on in front, obviously, but there's a lot of action going on in the back. It's kind of fun to watch it. On a side note, the back camera is the third-party off-brand camera. Now, GoPro does a really good job of formatting their videos in chunks, and the way that they do this is for very specific reasons as to why they chunk video slots out, and then you put those video slots together and it makes one video. Most to all camera companies do that as well. The only difference between GoPro and this third-party camera is that GoPro is very good about seamlessly chopping these things up into chunks without any loss of video. On the third-party one, the software isn't as great, and you'll see that there is a portion where when the chunk is cut, there's about 5 or 6 seconds that for whatever reason the camera doesn't record, and then it comes back in, and that's just how it splits its chunk. It's not as good as a processor. And so there is going to be a small little skip in the video that you're going to see, but that's just how it is. I would love to maybe check out the used marketplace, see if I can get another GoPro or something a little bit more professional for that rear camera, especially when situations like this happen. But nonetheless, it was a great time. I'm so happy that we got to finish the race because it seems like now, based off of last race, it's just more about survival than it is where we finished. So pay attention to the person in front of you. That is the biggest thing I can say when it comes to this, is when somebody's better than you, there's a reason they're better than you, and you can learn from them being in front of you and teaching you a little bit. So either way, had a great time, great success. Thanks again. Enjoy the race. It's a fun one, and we'll see you next race. See you guys.